Hey there, friends. I wanted to put out another video in what seems to be a long-running series of media deception and how media tries to change the narrative, if you will, to fit their own narrative and their own agenda. There's a opinion columnist that goes by the name of Nicholas Kristof, and this is an article that I plucked from the New York Times. Now, the New York Times has never been any kind of real reliable source of information or facts. It's obviously politically driven and always has been. But they've always been a really good source for us to see what the other side is doing and what their approach is and what kind of angle they're taking. In this particular one, they're, once again, trying to show that firearms, which are constitutionally protected, that they're trying to mythically show how they're easier to achieve and to get and to obtain and to purchase than, say, voting and adopting a dog. Yes, that's the two examples that they use. Let me go right into it. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. The article is titled "A Smarter Way to Reduce Gun Deaths," and it is a multiple page, just anti-gun blather. Well, the one section that they have written in here where it says keeping guns away from risky people says, in many facets of life, we're accustomed to screening people to make sure that they are trustworthy. For example, consider the hoops one must jump through in Mississippi to vote or adopt a dog. Now, clearly they're picking Mississippi because that's certainly not one of their favorite states. But for some reason, they feel like they've got something here. But they don't. Let me explain it to you. When they go to point out how to vote, they list that you have to have your Social Security number or driver's license, that you have to complete a 6-question voter registration form, mail in or hand deliver, and you have to do this 30 days before Election Day. You have to go to polls, produce a photo ID, and vote. Okay, they have separated several of these things. That would be like saying, instead of just getting dressed, that, oh, there's so many steps in getting dressed. You have to put your pants on, your underwear on. You have to put your right sock on. You have to put your left sock on. Then you have to put your right shoe on. Then your left shoe. Oh my God, putting socks and shoes on. That's 4 complete steps. Well, that's what they're trying to say here. Okay, so you have to have your Social Security number or driver's license. Okay, you've already got that. That's not a step. That's something you already have. That's like saying you are wearing a shirt. You're already wearing a shirt. Number 2, complete a 6-question voter registration form. True action, real action now. So we've got 1 step. Number 3, mail or hand deliver. Okay, maybe we'll call it a step, okay? 4, do this at least 30 days before Election Day. That is not a step. That's a lie. That is not a step. They're referring to number 2 and 3 has to be done 30 days before Election Day. So that is not a step. You've already completed those. So let's take that one out. Go to the polls. Okay. You're going to vote, right? You're expected to go to the polls. So that's a step right there that you already cover in number 6 and 7, where it says produce a photo ID and vote. So they have dragged out what really is about a 3 or 4 step process into 7 steps because they're liars. Let's move on to their next example of how hard it is to adopt a dog. 1, fill out a 64-question application. I got to stop you right there. That 64-page application, some hippie put that together. Some tree-hugging liberal put that together. This is from a group of people that went from saying you can either give somebody or purchase a dog, however you want to do it, to now we have to make sure this person is good enough. Now, I'm not saying you want that everybody deserves to have a pet, and I'm certainly not saying everybody's qualified to have a pet. Not everybody's even qualified to have kids, let alone pets. But the liberal leftists are the ones who have made it so hard to purchase or obtain a puppy dog. That this is not something that should be. And let's remind ourselves also that it's not a constitutionally protected thing like purchasing or owning a firearm is. Then they say, if renting, landlord is contacted. Oh my goodness, a second step that they have created and they put in there. Number 3, an in-person meeting with the entire family. Another step that they created and they put in there. A yard fencing and security assessed. Sleep over, visit with pet, pay $125 adoption fee, adopt a dog. So you're kidding me. They created the problem of obtaining, renting, buying a dog, whatever. They created these steps. The left did. The anti-gun left are the same people who are doing this stuff. They created these stupid hoops and things to jump through in order to get a dog, a pet. So let's take these stupid liberal rules of adopting a dog out and throw it out the window. That's something they created. It shouldn't even be in here. This guy is a complete clown for including that. So let's compare voting with purchasing a firearm, okay? Number one, have your social security number, driver's license. Well, they missed that on how to buy a gun. They acted like you didn't have to have that, but you do. You have to have a form of ID. So we're going to say both of them have to have number one. Let's go to number two, complete 6-question voter registration. Well, your background check is at least twice that long. So technically that could be 2 steps, but I'm not a scumbag like they are, so I'm only going to count that as a single step. Mail or hand deliver. Well, guess what? You have to hand deliver this. You have to give that to somebody. And let's not forget that there is a denial process in here. There's not a denial process for voting. Let's make sure we make that point in here. We do this at least 30 days before election day. Yeah, there's no instance like that you have to do that. So we can gloss over number 4 since that's not an issue anyway. Remember, number 4 was not an additional step, so we plucked that one out of there anyway. Go to the polls. Well, guess what? You had to make a trip to the store. You notice how they didn't even put that in there? They didn't even include that you had to go to the store to buy the gun. They do have to put that you got to go to the polls, but they don't put that you have to go to the store. Do you think when they do this, they sit back and chuckle and laugh and go, no one's ever going to notice that? Do you think they thought no one would notice that they put in here go to the polls as a step, but no one would notice go to the store was not included in there? They say produce a photo ID. Yep, you already had to do that, right? So just like they said at the very beginning, number 1, they also include that number 6 as if that's an additional step. It's not. Then you vote. Well, in this case, you actually have to, let's think about buying a gun. You actually have to pay money, right? You have to pay money. It's not free. So there's another step there if you really want to be true about it. The whole point of this stupid, ridiculous exercise is that in your face they lie. Now, granted, they are speaking in a vacuum. The New York Times, I subscribe to them just because I want to see, again, like what the other side is saying. I want to know whenever they're mounting an attack and how they're mounting it, because it's best to defend that way or defend against that when you know what they're up to. But for the most part, they're speaking in a vacuum. They're speaking to their own ilk. They're speaking to their own people who speak the same language, who are sitting back there pumping their fists going, yeah, it's 7 steps to vote and only 2 to get a gun. Yeah, well, I'm going to debunk these types of lies every step I get. And again, the whole purpose of this is to show you that the media is intent on lying to you. They call it news now, but it's not news anymore. It's one big giant op-ed. It's one big giant opinion piece that they're taking the news, they're eating it, they're vomiting it back out with their own slant and their own bias, and then they're feeding it to everybody out there. My point is, don't buy it, don't listen to it. Read through everything they put out, because they are ultimately lying to you in most cases, and that goes for most media, not just the left-leaning media. Your best place to get your news from, honestly, is right here on YouTube. Not just in the gun community, but in the overall community. There are people out there who are doing true journalism that, guess what? They have no journalism degree, have no real experience doing any kind of journalistic reporting or anything. But you know what they can do? They can read, they can talk, they can put videos out, and they're not liars like the mainstream media are.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's so horrible.